Hello there. Just a quick one. I'm so excited to announce that our next live audience recording of 3 Food Memories will be held on the 2nd of August on the Gold Coast as part of the Bleach Festival with Australian designer Alex Perry. For tickets and details, head to our website 3foodmemories.com. Enjoy the episode. Bye for now.
We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the ground we stand on and thank them for allowing Papa to tell stories on these glorious lands we share.
My guest on this episode of 3 Food Memories is a self-confessed problem child. She's also a Korean culinary powerhouse, chef, restaurateur, author and TV star, whose journey from Wall Street to the kitchen is as bold as her flavours. After a life is too short epiphany, she graduated top of her class in French cuisine. But of course, since then, she's been the first female Iron Chef UK, led the kitchen at London's Playboy Club, launched a bunch of soul bird restaurants, hosted Korean Food Made Simple, and dropped her latest book, K-Quick, Korean Food in 30 Minutes. I'm crowning her the queen of Korean fried chicken. Judy Joo, Hwan Yeon to 3 Food Memories.
Thank you so much, Sava. I'm so excited to be here. That was quite an introduction. Wow, thank you.
Did I get it all in? There's a lot to...
Fabulous. Yes, a lot.
There's a lot done. There's a lot being done.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to do, I get the feeling of.
Mm-hmm.
Judy, I'm really bummed I'm not doing this with you in person in your kitchen because I would have loved to have poked around in your larder to see what's going on in there. What do you think I would have found?
Oh my gosh. Well, actually, I'm in the process of cleaning out my pantry just because I had a leak from above and I had to get it all repainted. So everything had to come out, which is a good thing because I needed to purge some things. So, I have some gourmet items like 10-year-old bay leaves in there or something like that I just need to get rid of. And so I'm doing a big clean. But yeah, tons of spices from all over the world you'll find. And like I was just looking at like 4 different types of rice. I've got beans. I've got dried chilies from everywhere. Dried spices, everything from mace to suya from Africa to za'atar to curries and amazing things. And yeah, so.
Now, you're in UK at the moment.
I am. I'm in London. Good morning.
So whereabouts in London are you? I'm just trying to work out where you go to markets.
Oh, I live in a village called Marylebone. And yesterday I was at the Marylebone Farmers Market. And this is known also to be a gastronomic village because we have a fantastic butcher's here called the Ginger Pig, my favorite cheese shop called La Fromagerie. We have, gourmet grocery stores and, fishmongers nearby. Fabulous chocolatiers, everything. Like you name it, there's a gourmet store for it around here.
And they all know you now, so they all know what you're looking for when you walk in.
Possibly. I mean, there's always changing staff at a lot of places, So, but yeah, the fish guy has left. I'm sad. There's a new fish guy. We used to have a guy named Russell. He's not there anymore. Yeah, but the cheese people know me if it's the same people. Yeah, I kind of know some of the owners because those are the ones that are there with longevity. Like the young staff seems to kind of rotate around. Yeah.
Now your story is pretty fascinating. You have a degree in industrial engineering and operations research. Then from there you moved into investment banking. What brought you on this epiphany to study cookery?
I was working on the trading floor. I was in the sales and trading side of finance, and I was working ridiculously long hours. I lived in San Francisco at the time, and I was working New York market hours on the West Coast. So I was, in the office every day by 3 a.m., 3:30 a.m., like the latest, right? And I was working easily 100-hour weeks. This is before Me Too, before this woke world. And, you worked. That was normal. That was a really normal life. Just was working your butt off like crazy. And you get paid handsomely, but you really have no time on your own, no time to spend your money, like nothing. And everybody was doing this. I was not an exception. This was like the norm by far. And so I was sick with sinusitis and laryngitis for like 9 months straight or something crazy. And I was like, I'm just not able to get better because I wasn't sleeping at all. I was exhausted all the time. I was always working, and I was so skinny. And I was just like, you know what? I just can't sustain this, and I really burnt out. And for me, I didn't exactly know what I was going to do in the cooking world, but I knew I wanted to be part of this wild and crazy world of food. And so, much to the chagrin of my parents, I quit, and I told them after I quit, not before, so they couldn't convince me out of it. And then I went to cooking school in New York. I moved back to New York at the French Culinary Institute, and the rest is history.
I mean, you said you were putting in 100 hours and not a blink of an eyelid. It was normal. What sort of hours did you start putting into your cooking career at the very beginning?
At the beginning, I started in food media, so I wasn't working the crazy restaurant hours. Restaurant hours, as you know, are quite antisocial. You're working every single night. You're working Saturday nights. You're working Friday nights, working weekends, etc. So I was working at magazines. I was doing editorial. I was doing recipe development and test kitchens. I was writing for Time Out magazine.
Which is pretty much aligned with your operations and engineering research kind of skill set, wasn't it? So I can actually see how this transfers.
Yeah. So I was always attracted to cooking because of the science of it. So the kitchen really is a laboratory for me, particularly the baking side. And, when you're doing recipe development for magazines, these editors, I was working for Saveur, are literally going across the world to find, like the best. I did work on an Australian story, actually. So this editor went to Australia. She found the best lamington, the best vanilla slice, the best sausage roll, like all the best, like, things at this one bakery that had this amazing story. I can't remember the name of it. And so I had to take those recipes that are basically scrawled, on a napkin or like a small little sheet of paper by this 97-year-old grandmother or something, and translate that to the American kitchen using American ingredients and make the same thing.
Did you have any understanding of Australian culture at this time?
No, but I learned it through the lens of their food.
Through the
so
recipes.
This is, and and recipes tell the story of and the history of a country. Korea is a classic example of that. Australia also, it tells the story of immigration, migration, occupation, colonization, wars. All of these things. Even recession, like Korean fried chicken didn't come to Korea because it's Korean. It came there but through the GI presence, through all the wars, and, on all the influence of Japanese food and Japanese ingredients. We're occupied by Japan for 35 years and more. And it's really interesting to look at the culture and the history of a country through the lens of their food and what they eat.
What did you learn about us through our lamington, our sausage roll, and our vanilla slice? Was it a vanilla slice, did you say?
Vanilla slice, yeah.
What did you learn about us through those? They're quintessentially Australian.
Yeah, I mean, also like the English influence, like the sausage roll is something that is very prominent that everybody eats here in the UK. Lamingtons are delicious, they come in all different flavors. Like, I didn't know that. So, but I guess, there is definitely a strong baking culture in Australia, which you don't see in Asia that much at all, and, there were some other things. I can't remember everything. I love the vanilla slice also. I love that custard.
Your face lights up when you talk
about these dishes. It's so fun.
It's kind of a lightness
I wish
and brightness.
I could find, I wish I could find, I have all of my Saveur recipes up here, all the magazines are up on my shelf still. I kind of saved them. But, it's just, I guess I didn't realize, back then, how strong the connection was between Australia and England and the history there. And also that there's so many, Asians in Australia also, like East Asians, just because of the proximity as well, so I wasn't really aware of all of the different, immigrations patterns that went into Australia and the different ethnic enclaves. And Yeah, so I found that interesting also.
So from food media into restaurants.
Mm.
So how did you make that jump?
So I married a man that I met at Morgan Stanley, actually. And so he had moved to a hedge fund and he was asked to open up the European division of his hedge fund in London. So we hopped the pond together and
Jump.
big jump, yeah, from New York to London. And yeah, that was a hard move because I at first I didn't have like a work visa and I didn't know anybody really at all in London. So, there's always an adjustment period. So that was a bit hard at first. And I was just trying to get our lives set up. And then I started working in restaurants and I started first in the Gordon Ramsay restaurants in the Gordon Ramsay Empire, working in 3 Michelin star places and rotated throughout all of his different restaurants and, really kind of got an idea of what it was like to work in kitchens. I was also continuing to write. And then I also started doing a bit of television work. So there was a show called Market Kitchen on at the time that Optimum Television was producing. And I started becoming a regular on that show. And then this casting call for Iron Chef came up, and Iron Chef I mean, I know it still exists, maybe in Australia, Vietnam, and Thailand, and some other countries, but it was huge in the United States, had 30 or 40 seasons. And they came to the UK to try it, and there was a massive casting, and everybody went for it. Everybody and their mother went for the Iron Chef castings. And I went just because, why not? I'll try, and not really thinking I had a chance in the world. Kept getting called back and called back and called back and ended up landing the gig. So I was the second female Iron Chef globally after Kat Cora in the United States and the first one in the UK. And even though the show only had 1 season in the UK, the consulting producers were from the United States franchise of Iron Chef. And they saw me and started bringing me back to the United States to do more work with them on Iron Chef as well as Food Network as a whole. And so I became a regular face on Food Network, and I got my own show called Korean Food Made Simple, which had 2 seasons, which played around the world, including Australia. And that led to my first book, also called Korean Food Made Simple. And yeah, and that really kind of launched my more serious television career and more restaurants as well. Yeah.
What do you think they saw in you that they could actually take to the world? Because you told me earlier that there was every man and every person and their mother was there. But what was your point of difference, do you think?
I would definitely say it was my background and the fact that I'm a French-trained Korean-American Londoner. And so it was really interesting.
Let's do that again, just in case we missed. A French-trained
Korean-American Londoner.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lovely little mix.
Yeah, it is. And so actually one of my secret weapons was that, like the British chef just really cooked British food. There was a French chef, he just cooked French food. Indian chef really just cooked Indian. But I would pull things out of my repertoire that were American, that were, Korean, that were Japanese, because I'm so global in my scope of knowledge and my flavor profile and what I'm comfortable in. I'm truly tricultural, right? And so I would surprise them with what is she going to make today? Like they had no idea what was going to come out of my wheelhouse.
Did you have any idea what was going to come?
I know. A lot of times I did it. And a lot of times I was like, oh, you know what I mean? What am I going to do? Like I remember one ingredient was potatoes, right? And I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And I ended up making this beautiful potato pizza, with all different types of colored potato on top and purple potatoes and orange potatoes, etc., whatever. And yeah, it turned, and that came from my, inspiration came from a bakery in New York City called Sullivan Street Bakery that had this very thin potato pizza that was so good that I used to munch on all the time. And so I remember that, and so just kind of dug deep in my memory. I was like, I'm going to recreate something that is based on this from this inspiration. Yeah.
So we're drawing on the classics of French training, the traditional British cookery, the popular food culture of America, and the exotic of Eurasian influences.
Yeah, definitely.
Your 3 food memories, the ones that you're going to share with us today, are labour-intensive cooking processes, of which 2 are preparing food in bulk. Are those typical characteristics of Korean cookery?
Well, I think back in my day when I was growing up, because my parents were immigrants, you couldn't buy anything pre-made, right? Now you can get everything pre-made, and you can get, not only can you buy it pre-made, you can buy it in like little one-person packs. So they're so convenient that just like pop open, right? My mom was making, food to last months, I guess, in case it was another war or something. And so, it's bit of a labor of love to make dumplings and to make, kimchi and to make, to do these things. So I guess like once she had in her head, okay, we're going to make this, we're going to make 100 of them, and then I'll have to make them again for like 2-3 months, just throw it in the freezer or put it out somewhere to ferment, and we were done, right? So, it was making in bulk, but I think it was also, because you kind of bought things in bulk because everything was so far away. There were no Korean grocery stores nearby. We would get these packages from Korea of, huge packages that were practically bigger than me when I was a kid, of just like dried seaweed, dried persimmons, dried squid, dried fish, dried chilies, dried anchovies, And so she would take this, okay, and be like, okay, now we've got to cook this. We have to do something with it. We have to take these chilies and make kimchi before they go off, before they spoil, So I think that she had this mentality, okay, I just got, a big package of goodies. Now I'm going to actually do something with it. And then we're going to eat this and be happy for the next few months. Yeah.
Happy after all of the work has been done.
Completely. Yep.
So let's start with your first food memory. It's your mother making kimchi on the floor of your kitchen in your old yellow baby bathtub.
Yeah.
Doing the kimchi squat.
During the kimchi squat. Yeah. So the kimchi squat, if you're not privy to what this is, I'm not sure if you've been around Asia, you'll see a lot of people just like squatting. And it's this comfortable stance of just like squatting. Like generally, like, I don't know, I never see Caucasians sitting like this. Well, they're just sitting around the streets just squatting. And I think it's because everybody in Asia is so used to sitting Indian style on the floors that this position is not uncomfortable, right? And actually it rests your legs. You can kind of relax that way, but you're not sitting on the ground, right? So my mom still does the kimchi squat, as we call it, but you don't sit on the ground. You're basically squatting. And so your butt is almost touching the ground, but you're just, in this deep squat. It's really good for you, actually, if you want to take it to some kind of like fitness routine. And she would make like, I don't know, probably about like 20 heads of kimchi, of cabbage at a time. And the only plastic vessel that was big enough for her to use was my retired baby bathtub, right? And so, it's full of red chilies. So when I was a little kid, she'd never let me touch them because you touch your eyes or something like that. It's dangerous, right? So I used to have, she's like, stand back. She'd tell me to stay away. And I just like watch her from afar, just like making this like kimchi. Yeah.
So your dad is from, let me get this right, your dad is from North Korea and your mother's from the South.
Yeah, it was one Korea back then.
It was one Korea.
My dad was born in 1939. My mom was born in 1945, and the Korean War ended in 1950. Was it 4 or 5? Yeah.
And where did they meet?
The United States.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy because most couples back then traveled to the United States together. And particularly for my mom, it's really crazy because women were not traveling by themselves back then, period, and let alone pursuing higher education. Korea was such a poor country after the war that most families weren't even bothering to educate their daughters. But my mom came from a family that really believed in education. Her father, my grandfather, was a principal of a high school, so he really believed in education. And so my mom,
gift, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It really is a gift. And so she got a full scholarship to go pursue a master's in chemistry at Ohio State University in the middle of the country, right? And my dad, somehow from his refugee camp on Jeju Island, studied his butt off. And it was interesting because this was an island that was very strategic for Korea and the Americans. And so, there were huge military bases there and, a ton of refugees because it's one of the few islands that didn't see direct conflict. And, as in any war, Korea put all of their intellectual treasures on this island. So the greatest minds. So just to try to preserve the culture, to preserve the intellect. And a lot of countries in war will try to protect some people who can remember the traditions, etc., and everything. And so even though my dad didn't have books, paper, or pens to go to school, he had the equivalent of Stephen Hawking teaching him physics. So he had the greatest professors there, and they made this makeshift school in tents, and they had nothing, no books or anything, but he got a good education there somehow. And he made it to Seoul National, which is like the Harvard of Korea. Seoul National Medical School for his college, university, had no money whatsoever. His sister put him through school, right? And so it's all kind of like, it takes a village, right, to get people through schools and everything. And he graduated in 1964. And 99% of his graduating medical school class immigrated to the United States because they granted visas to doctors because America needed doctors. But the only caveat was that you had to go where the American government wanted you to. So his graduating class got dispersed around middle of nowhere America, like Coshocton, Ohio, Idaho, Montana, like all this stuff. And my dad was placed in Grand Rapids, Michigan. One of my dad's classmates was placed in Binghamton, New York. It's kind of in the cold area near Canada, like Buffalo area. And that happens to be my mom's older brother. And he called up my dad, was like, hey, I've got a sister in the Midwest. You're in Michigan. My sister's in Ohio. Why don't you guys just meet? And so they kind of got set up that way. And that's how they met.
So when I think about, they're removed from their culture, they're removed from their food, which is essentially culture, isn't it? It's what it's your go-to, it's your comfort, it's your safety.
Oh, totally.
Those flavors and all the rest of it. So they're removed, they're dropped in somewhere that's remotely not Korean at all. How do your mum and dad maintain their culture? How do they maintain the food? Where do they get all that from?
So they mostly shopped at Chinese grocery stores. There were no Korean specific grocery stores back then. So they would drive for hours to go to the one Chinese grocery store, or sometimes, so they lived in Grand Rapids, Michigan first, and then they moved to New Jersey where I was born. And in New Jersey, every now and then we'd do this like pilgrimage to New York City to go to the one Korean grocery store that was in K-Town back then. That was pretty small and dumpy. And that's where my mom would sometimes buy a lot of the Korean ingredients. But even back then, they didn't sell a lot, It was like basic things. And so she could maybe find some like rice cakes there or, like some Korean rice or things, but mostly, there was a small little Chinese grocery store near us where we were in New Jersey. And I remember going all the time. And, I would eat haw flakes, if you remember those. Those like little, like candy, like I think they're Southeast Asia. I don't even know where they're from. They might be Thai. I'm not even quite sure. Or maybe they are Chinese. Like I have to look that one up. And because the little, the Chinese store owner used to always give them to me and these little Chinese candies and stuff. And so she would go there sometimes and buy soy sauce, buy sesame oil, some of the staples and rice vinegar and items like that. And, dumpling wrappers and skins and tofu.
Korean food is even though there's some similar, it's very different from Chinese.
It is.
Like the subtleties are not as subtle as you think they are. So she would have had to be really resourceful and really tap into what she was taught and probably tap into her own food memories.
Definitely. And so this is why, like getting that package from Korea was so important and so exciting, because like getting Korean chilies really are their own thing, and Korean chili flakes are their own thing, The Korean seaweed to make the like kim, like the one that we use to wrap and to make rice rolls and stuff was a thing because it's very different from like Japanese nori that you can buy. This is one that's roasted. You put salt on it and stuff, and even things like they did the dried squid and the snacking items. Like, I remember my parents would love it whenever they got a package. It was literally like their comfort food and getting a taste of home. And they couldn't get that taste of home unless you really made it from scratch.
Just explain to me this, again, another subtle difference here between Japanese cookery and Korean cookery.
Oh, it's a big difference. It's a big difference.
Is it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, We are neighbors, and Japan occupied Korea for a long time, but the cuisine's very different. The people are really different. Just visiting Korea versus Japan. Like in Japan, like I love Japan, but it's a much more reserved culture, I guess. Like manners matter. And in Korea, we're kind of known as the Italians of Asia. We wear our hearts on our sleeves. Like we're very fiery. We're in your face. Like we're telling you what we think. The Japanese. It's all about face. It's you don't always know what they're thinking. Like I've tried to do business with Japanese, and it's like, okay, wait, well, I thought that meeting went great, and then like you've been rejected
So don't
over
play
email
poker
after.
with a Japanese person.
Oh, it's really difficult. Yeah, very difficult. And so culturally, it's completely different. There's almost like this like modesty around Japanese culture where there's
Koreans are not modest?
well, no, because like Koreans will like laugh out loud and like throw their heads up in the air and it's much more of an expressive culture, and the food it reflects that. The food is fiery, pungent, in your face, unapologetic, vibrant, and Japanese food is much more subtle, right? It's more about like the most perfect raw ingredient and perfecting and bringing out that like the subtle sweetness in fish, like the delicacy of a perfect mushroom, whereas like Koreans are like, you know what, we're going to throw a ton of spice, chilies, everything onto this, and it's gonna, hit you in the face like kimchi. You're gonna smell it before you even taste it, like from like 20 feet away, and then it's gonna stay with you because you're gonna burp it for 5 hours afterwards. So it's very different culturally. Yeah,
You've given us 100%. A great example of that.
No, totally. Yeah,
I can't imagine a Japanese person even saying the word burp. They'd be concealing it.
Yeah, completely.
Now, you're no stranger to moving. You left the US. Even though you went across, you jumped the pond, like you said, to the UK. Both English speaking cultures, very different. You've stayed in the UK. Why do you love the UK so much? Why have you made it home?
London is a very livable city. There's more green space here than any other, city that I know of. It's really livable. It feels like a small village opposed to a town like Hong Kong or Seoul or New York even, which are really 24-hour cities full of skyscrapers. You only see patches of sky. You never see like the real sky, I love New York also. I'm a New Yorker through and through. You can take the New Yorker out of New York, but you can't take the New York out of, so.
It's there in your voice.
It's there, right?
I heard you speak a little bit of an English accent, and then New York is just there. It's not going anywhere.
No, I mean, that's so funny because all of my English friends still think I sound so much like a Yankee. But every now and then when I go back to America, I was like, okay, you sounded English right there. You sounded British. Just like a little bit. It's something I can't help, but I definitely don't try to put it on, and but yeah, and I love Marylebone. I love being in Europe also, I think it's so culturally enriching. Like New York can get crazy, after a while. But I still love New York. So I think we call it a nylon New York Londoner. So I'm a nylon. I got the best of both worlds. And I kind of hop and pond, skipping across, the ocean back and forth a bunch. So it's fun.
What did your parents think of this huge career change? I mean, you said before that you told them after you made the decision. When you finally, they weren't you've gone from a very safe, very secure, very future-driven job to going to like something that was unknown to them. But I would imagine right now they'd be like, wow.
Yes and no. I think so. I mean, yeah, like my mom has recently said that they're so incredibly, like my mom and dad, that they're so incredibly proud of me. But at first, I think there definitely was an adjustment because I feel like particularly coming from like a war-torn time, security is everything. And becoming a chef to them was a serious downgrade after, going to a fancy school and working at a fancy bank and having a fancy job, and making good money. And they're like, okay, we paid all this money for you to go peel potatoes for a living or something, and, and in particularly in Korea, working in kitchens is not a high status job. Like that's what you do if you don't go to school, right? If you can't work at a bank or something. And so they didn't understand it at all. And now they understand it. And now, I'm more of an entrepreneur more than anything else. And yeah, I think they're bragging to their friends again. I don't know. Whereas before, like before, I think there was definitely a period where they're like, "Oh yeah, Judy's just she's trying to figure out what she wants to do or whatever," and
she's trying to find herself. But I mean,
yeah.
this is quite a sweet thing when you look at it on the upside. Is they want the best for you, don't they? They want
totally.
They want you to have more than what they had because what they had was struggle.
And my dad grew up food insecure. Like he knew hunger in his life, like that's just crazy, right? And so yeah, a lot of struggle. So it's only out of love, yeah. But at the same time, like happiness wasn't always part of that equation,
Yeah. Because I think about this too, Judy. I think about my own parents and hearing it when they came to Australia. My mum came when she was 18. My father was here when he was 3. But they were of a generation where they had to build lives. That everything went into building and securing. And so, and because of them, we are able to do
absolutely
things, that we're doing now. We actually have that freedom, so to speak.
That luxury,
luxury.
to take risk,
yeah,
to do something that is off-piste, right? To do something against the grain, to pursue a creative field.
But they also give us the work ethic. They give us that caution, don't they, Judy?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they give us that and that ability to I can't explain it. To want more.
Definitely. Well, to dream. I think.
Dream.
Yeah. So we are the dream catchers.
We are the dream catchers. Let's move on to your second food memory. Another mum memory, where she's grilling. Now, am I pronouncing this right? Bulgogi.
Yes, bulgogi. Yeah.
Bulgogi on a small tied grill in the garage.
Totally. It was this tiny little grill that was like totally broken, and she must have gotten it secondhand or something because it was so beat up. I remember it just being wonky, and it like the top part didn't fit on the bottom part. Like, it was covered in tinfoil because it was all cracked, and it was always like precariously balancing, on the, it probably should have been thrown out a while ago, but she was still grilling meat on it. And, we had to like step down these stairs to go into our garage. And my mom would sit on the bottom stair and have this little grill just there on the concrete floor. And it was so small. It probably wasn't even, it was probably half the size of like a laptop. It was tiny. It was like the size of a book. It was really small. So she could only do like probably like, I don't know, 5 slices, like thin little slices of beef at a time. And she just cook them with her chopsticks and stuff, and only fit like a few pieces of coal that she would just like light and like, get going, and she would cook our dinner. And I just remember her doing that. But the smell of the smoke, because that Korean barbecue smell is so unique and so incredibly Moorish, like totally addictive. And I remember smelling it 2 floors up in my bedroom on the second floor, and like, oh, Mom's making bulgogi. And so I would come down from my desk and sneak down because I was supposed to be studying. And I sneak down, I crawl up next to her, and I sit down on that little step next to her. And she would laugh, and, she'd take one off and like blow it with her mouth to cool it down, and like feed me.
Giving its little,
it's true. And she'd feed me. Yeah, so she'd feed me a small little piece. Yeah.
What do you think that creates that smell, and that is it the meat juices, the fat that drip onto the coal, and then
it's all of that, but it's the marinade. It's the Korean barbecue marinade, which is soy sauce, pear, so you got a bit of sugar in there, all of the sesame oil, the garlic, the ginger, all of that coming together that creates that like sweet smoke that is so delicious. Yeah.
And
Fragrance,
pulls you down from the study desk down
completely.
to
It's
the
like I'm like floating. I'm wafting it as I inhale this aroma. It's like you're being almost like entranced, like hypnotized by this scent, and you're floating down the stairs, and you can't do anything else. Yeah.
Your latest book, K-Quick, Korean Food in Less Than 30 Minutes, I fell in love with. I actually fell in love with the cover, that yellow that you chose. I don't know if there was a lot of thought. I would imagine it's a yellow. It's not what is that yellow? Let's talk about it because it
is Bruce Lee Enter the Dragon, that jumpsuit.
I knew it was something. It was because I just get this feeling you don't waste a thing like for you. So that yellow just kind of hit me in the head.
Yeah, isn't it very Bruce Lee Enter the Dragon? You know that
Now
yellow
that you say
jumpsuit,
that,
right? Yeah. It's very Bruce Lee, yeah.
Why do you think Korean food has become so popular? It's had a big jump.
Well, all of Korean culture. So it's the Korean wave. We call it the K wave. And that encompasses, K dramas, all the movies and all the soap operas that everybody's addicted to around the world, as well as Korean pop. So K-pop, so BTS, Blackpink, all of those bands, as well as K-beauty, as well as part of this now, and also K-food. And it's really driven by all of these things, So as Korean culture has become more pertinent, people have been, watching these dramas or following BTS, like, what are they eating? What are they drinking? I want to do that. I want to try that. What is that? There's almost become this like insatiable curiosity around Korean culture. And with that comes the food. And Korean food is really flavorful. At the end of the day, like the product of the food has to be very tasty. And because Korean food is, really grounded in fermentation, there's so much umami with the gochujang, which is the fermented Korean chili paste, the doenjang, the fermented soybean paste, even soy sauce, it's from, a fermented product, kimchi, and all of the fermented things that are all around in Korean culture really make for a very addictive, like satiating bite. Like the food is really in your face. It's powerful. Like you try it, like, ooh, what is that? That's really good. And then you want to have more. And it's dynamic as well. The food scene, the street food scene is always changing. Like, what are the new trends? But every time I go back, I'm seeing something new and fun and exciting, right? And at the end of the day, it's also a very varied cuisine. Like, I think all the greatest hits are kind of very popular right now. So things like dumplings and the noodles and the fried, the rices, the rice dishes and the bibimbaps of the world. But like, there's a whole other world of all the soups and stews that nobody really knows about yet that is slowly coming to the forefront too.
So the premise of the book is less than 30 minutes. Is this less than 30 minutes a response to make Korean food more accessible?
Oh, definitely. So I've been waving the Korean flag for a long time and trying to get Korean flavors to go global for decades now. I've been doing this for a while. And, we decided with my publisher that, like, why not make a book that was completely accessible? Nobody has time anymore. And people still want to cook at home, but it's like they don't have 4 hours to slave away in front of a stove, So yeah, why not create a book that really makes it easy and quick, but doesn't compromise on flavor or taste?
Are we losing anything by compressing cookery times?
Of course, you always are. Like it definitely, like some of the meats and the barbecues would taste better, if you marinated them overnight. But you know what? They still taste pretty damn good if you marinate them for 10, 15 minutes. And that's something that like my mom would do all the time because she didn't have all the time in the world either. Like we get home from school and she throws some stuff in a bag and marinate it. And, 20 minutes later, it's on the stove cooking, right? So it's just like you got to feed the family, and you don't always have time in the morning or the night before to plan for it.
So K-pop, are you listening to K-pop?
I am a little bit, but not like I'm a little bit old for the demographic. And so, I am a child of 80s music and 90s music, just like you. So, yeah.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. Do you listen to music when you're cooking?
I do.
What are you listening to?
I mean, one of my favorite groups is the Killers, so I'm listening
Ah,
to the Killers a lot, and a lot of like kind of alternative genres. I mean, the best song in the world is "Mr. Brightside." I feel like that's just one of those songs that the second it comes on, everybody rushes the dance floor, and knows all of the lyrics, etc. It's just one of those like happy songs, and I love the lyrics because it's like this guy is watching his girlfriend or somebody make out with another guy, right? In the song, and then he's like, but it's okay because I'm Mr. Brightside. Like there's always a bright side. And so as heartbreaking as it is, as downtrodden as you are, you got to find the silver lining because there is a bright side.
are you Ms. Judy Joo Brightside?
I try to be, especially in my older age now. I feel like I try, and also I'm just too tired to sweat the small stuff anymore. If nobody's dying or nobody has died and nobody's gotten hurt, like we can fix it. And even that you can, you know what I mean? It's like, it's okay. Like it's fine. Like we can figure it out, like especially having restaurants through COVID, having restaurants through the energy crisis, having restaurants through the supply chain crisis, all like there's been chaos around every single corner in the hospitality sector.
But you're Korean, so you're built for this.
I guess so. Yeah. And so my ancestors weathered wars and everything. And so it's about picking and choosing your battles again, like it's okay. Like I actually don't have the bandwidth or the energy to get that angry anymore. Like it takes a lot out of me to get stressed, like your heart rate goes up and whatever. And it's like, okay, well, like, let's try to fix it. Or I was just like, okay, so what went wrong and whatever and da-da-da. And I don't need to yell at somebody. I will just be like, okay, so they've made this mistake and whatever, and like let's fix the mistake. And there is a mental note now, of kind of what went wrong and why, and yeah.
Back to the book. I won't ask you for your favorites. However, when we all buy the book, because we're going to,
Yes, yes.
where can you send us to find the Korean nuggets of gold?
Oh, I mean, I love the bulgogi recipe. I do. I really do. I added a little twist to it. I added a dash of fish sauce to it. You don't have to, but I think it really brings out the umami. Another great fermented ingredients. I think it just brings out and enhances so much flavor in the recipe. You can just use a bit more soy sauce if you want to. I also really love a couple of the desserts. There's a fried apple dumpling pie in there, and it's really reminiscent of the McDonald's fried apple pie, which is
Wow.
so good.
There's your Americanism coming into the
Oh, totally.
into
And also
play.
like a dumpling wrapper is the perfect, easy pastry for something, and then you've got a hand pie, and it's cute, it's small, it's delicious. I absolutely love it. Oh, and there's another dish called tteokbokki in there, which is the Korean spicy sweet rice cakes, which is so tasty. If you haven't had it, it is a revelation. If you've never had a Korean rice cake, they're chewy, they're toothsome. It's almost like a chewier gnocchi. It's a type of pasta, if you will, but it's made of rice, and it's in this spicy sweet sauce. It's so good. Also, what I do in the book is I take a recipe like kimbap or japchae noodles or bibimbap, and I show all the variations. So if you want to make it with chicken, you can. If you want to make it with pork, or you want to make it with beef, or you want to make it with shrimp or seafood or a vegetarian version, there is a version in this book for all of these.
How long did it take you to write K-Quick?
I think I had a year on my deadline, but like I kind of, in my life, nothing gets done until the last minute. So I definitely cram and I do things like, and I kind of bang it out. I've got another book due actually in September. So stay tuned for the 2026 book. Yeah. So I'm kind of, I've got pipeline. Yeah.
So what can we look forward to in that one?
That book is based on the K-wave and is all the food from Korean pop and Korean dramas and stuff like that. So, like if you saw Parasite, I will have the that delicious, I think it was called ramdong, or it was nuguri udon and like ramen noodle. I can't remember, what was it? Maybe, okay, sorry. So is this dish in Parasite? They take two different types of instant noodles and they combine them together, and it's a portmanteau. And the guy had kind of made it up, which is why I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it was called ramdong, but and then he puts sirloin steak on top, and this is something that the mother makes for her child. So you have recipes like that in it. Of course, from Squid Games, the dalgona candy. Favorite foods from members of bands and BTS, foods that have been inspired by other K-pop songs, etc. So it's a very fun book. Yeah.
Let's now talk about your last food memory. Now, this is a dad memory. It's making roasted seaweed.
So this is called kim, which you can now buy everywhere in every grocery store, pre-packed now, and like even in like little serving size 1-person packs. And back in my day, in the 1800s, we had to, you got them a full sheet, so the size of like a sheet of paper, and you got them by like the stacks, like stories of it. And it came raw, and you had to brush oil on each side. And so my dad and I would create this little assembly line on the kitchen counter where, he would there would be a stack like taller than us of just with the raw seaweed on one side. He'd take it, he brush one side and salt it. He pass it to me. We flip it over. I brush the other side with oil and seaweed. And then we put it on, and then like we keep doing it. And then we take it over to the stove and then pan fry each sheet of seaweed. And this seaweed, I don't know if you've ever had it, but like it flakes. And so there'd be like black little specks of seaweed all over the kitchen, all over myself, in my hair, everywhere. It's doing this for like hours. It was like, it like infiltrate everything and everything around you. So yeah. But then, you pack it in airtight containers and we'd eat it and munch on it. And I actually liked this little snack. So I didn't mind making it because it was and it still is one of my favorite things to eat.
What are some of the conversations that you remember from making this with your dad, the roasted seaweed?
Gosh, it was like mostly like my mom would be in the kitchen too, and my sister. So it was a lot of conversations of like what we were going to do this weekend, or what else what we were going to make with it, or like so it was always like talking about food. I think my family's just like food obsessed actually, and just like, oh yeah, we can like this we can make with rice. I'll have the rice ready. You eat it with kimchi. I'll pack this for your lunch, and like da-da-da. So it was always like talking about like what we're going to make. And like, after you're done with this, we're going to make this. Oh, tonight I'm going to make this soup. Where's it? So it's like a little bit of a chaotic scene of conversation. I don't think it's not quite like, Crazy Rich Asians where this is like calm thing of like everybody's folding dumplings and you're talking about like memories of years past. And it's just like, it was definitely like more like, did you do your laundry for tomorrow's soccer practice or something, like just like conversation of like getting life done, I would say,
Both your parents, we spoke earlier, both your parents were born just on the other side of World War II, and they have very different experiences of the Korean War. What are some of the stories that you remember? Because I would imagine having these experiences spoken to you firsthand, really.
Yeah.
How did they influence your growing up?
So my dad was born 1939, so he was really born during the war, grew up during the war.
The Second World War.
Yeah, 1939, yeah. So they're really war kids, and I feel that there's a scarcity factor that still is in their way of living. Like, I'll go home to New Jersey where they live, and they will wash paper towels and dry them. They will wash Ziploc bags and like they're hanging, like they waste nothing. They waste absolutely nothing. My dad still has this thing where he cannot throw any food away because he grew up hungry, so it doesn't matter what it is. It's like, we have to take it home. My mom is constantly cleaning out his pockets of his suits or his jackets of like the little crackers that he'll get, with his coffee or whatever, cookies or in airplanes, whatever, just like clean, like even packs of ketchup, like it's like, it's this habit because he grew up food insecure, right? And to this day, it's like, it pains him. He cannot leave what leftover food, right? And even growing up, he's like, you had to finish everything on your plate. You had to finish every grain of rice on your plate, and he would tell us these like superstitions, like every grain of rice you leave is going to end up as a pock mark on your face, like all these things. And so, yeah, like my mom will wear all of my like hand-me-down clothes, like it's like they're very frugal to this day, even though like they've essentially like lived the American dream and they've done very well, but like old habits die hard, and they will never buy extravagant things, it's just not in their personality.
So your resourcefulness, your resilience comes from them.
Oh, completely. And this, I guess this formidable, intrepid spirit of just like never giving up and finding a way, there's so much failure in success, as you know, there's so much rejection, that you just have to be able to pick yourself up and just keep going.
So you've chosen, the Endometriosis Foundation as your social cause. Why have you chosen this?
Well, I have endometriosis, and I have had endometriosis for a long time. I think everyone is diagnosed late, and statistically, 1 out of every 10 women have it. I think it's more because you just don't know that you have it until you literally see it and you get an MRI or a surgeon cuts you open and you see it. So it is one of the most undetected undiagnosed diseases out there. And it's basically when the uterine lining grows outside the uterus. So when you have your period, the uterus grows a lining that gets ready to have a baby. If you don't have a baby, you get your period and it comes out. That lining, for unknown reasons, will sometimes grow outside the uterus. And when that happens, as you can imagine, it causes havoc on all of your other organs because it attaches to your intestines, your colon, your diaphragm, all of that, and it can really cause havoc, even your bladder, all of the organs in your body. It can even go up to your brain, and it can be extremely painful. It can really cause you to become completely sedentary in your life, make you bedridden, all of these things. There have been terrible cases. There was a famous New York Times diagnosis case of this one woman whose lung kept collapsing every single month. They had no idea. And it turns out that she had endometriosis on her diaphragm and her lungs. And so every month when she was having her period, she would get flare-ups, and then it would cause her lungs to collapse. So it's a very dangerous disease. There needs to be more research dedicated towards it, more attention, more awareness towards it. And I personally think it's more than 10% of 1 out of 10, because I know so many of my friends have endometriosis, so many. And one of your favorite famous Australian TV personalities, Bindi Irwin, is also part of the Endometriosis Foundation. She's been very vocal about her journey, and she was honored at the Endometriosis Foundation Blossom Ball a couple years ago. And they still have no idea why it happens, and there is no cure. Like right now, like the cure, quote unquote, isn't really a cure; it's just surgery, and it just alleviates the symptoms. It is a disease that really affects so many of us, that I have been, obviously, a victim of endometriosis, but, I've been able to live a very fulfilling life. I think you would not know, because I've had a great surgeon in New York City, is Tamara Sechkin, it's his foundation. And it's a cause that, has affected so many people. And I know so many women who have really had their lives derailed because of endometriosis. And I just hope that, especially with all the cuts in government funding in America, that they can continue to do their great work.
Now, I would also like to make a special mention to another 2 charities or social causes that you support. It's City Harvest, which is New York's first and largest food rescue organization. You're on the Food Council for that. And your restaurant, Soulbird, also supports CALM, Campaign Against Living Miserably. Now, we have an MFK Fisher tradition here at 3 Food Memories, where our previous guest presents you with a dish. Now, our last guest, Jen Brister, has served you forth Nepalese momos, dumplings, that she had to wait for hours after hiking up to a base camp and back. She says that they were the best things that she's ever tasted in her life, but specifies that you have to eat them after a 10-hour hike and not eaten all day in advance of this meal for the full effect of the dish. How do you feel about Nepalese momos?
I love them. Actually, I just went to a momo place in Queens in New York, and I had the best momos. They were so good. I didn't do a 10-hour hike before, so maybe they would have tasted better. But I also had them with something called butter tea. It was so good. It was tea with butter in it. It was really interesting. I've never had that before.
What would you like to serve our next guest?
I would like to serve, oh gosh, this is setting the bar really, really, really high. Maybe I don't do a K-Quick recipe. I don't know. Actually, I would like to serve my next. It is a recipe in K-Quick, but just because I think it's so fun. But I have a recipe in there for folded kimbap. Right. So this is a recipe that was made famous by a K-drama called The Extraordinary Attorney Woo. And it's about an autistic attorney who also has the savant part of autism. So she's also a genius, right? And her thing to eat is kimbap, which is a rice roll. Usually it's made like sushi and you have to roll it up. But her friend comes up with this way, because it's super easy, of just folding it, like you make one slit and you just fold it together like a sandwich. And it's super easy. It's so fast, but it's still delicious. And so I'm going to serve my next guest a folded kimbap stuffed with kimchi, ham or spam, because I'm Korean, we eat spam, but not everybody likes spam, with ham, a fried egg, and a bit of cheese.
Well, our next guest is Tom Parker Bowles, and I'm sure he's
if
going...
it was Tom, okay. Yeah.
Our next guest is Tom, and I'm sure he's going to have a reaction to the spam. Whether it's positive or negative, let's wait and see.
That's so funny.
Now, before we wrap up, when are you visiting Australia?
I need to, I've never been to Australia. I've been as close as Indonesia, but I've not made it to Australia. I need to do one of the book festivals. I think I need to do one of the book fairs. Yeah.
And I think you do. And I think you need to do a collaboration with someone here, because if you're kind of bringing to life all our sweets, our major, bakery
love
sweets,
it.
I think there's a place for you. So hurry up and get your bum down south.
Yes, I would love to. I'm so excited. I want to see koalas. I love koalas. I want to see a koala in the wild. I know. I love koalas. It's so cute. Thank you so much.
Judy Joo, I wish both of us a full life, well into 80s, just like your ma,
Yes.
so I can enjoy all your books that you write in the future. Judy Joo, thank you.
Thank you so much. Sabi sabas.
That's it for this episode of 3 Food Memories. Be sure to spread the plated love and check out our 60-plus back episodes. They're still as delicious as they were when they came out of the oven. In the next episode, you'll meet the one and only Tom Parker Bowles. For all things TFM, head to the socials at 3 Food Memories for more info, and to send us a message, head to 3foodmemories.com. 3 Food Memories is edited by Lauren McWhirter with original music by Russell Torrance. Nasta kalafili, and bye for now.
Thank you for listening to Papa's podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe.